Thank you. I'm just going to be talking about the new Picture House, not anything else. In 1909, James Joyce opened the first cinema in Dublin, and he was backed by Slovenian businessmen and showed mostly really obscure Italian art house films. And he named his cinema the Volta, and it was punning on what cinema can mean. Firstly, Volt is the Italian for time. Each moment is like a segment in films. It's captured as a frame and sequenced on the reel. Pictures can make sense of history and can distort memories, can shape time, and unfortunately after less than a year Joyce's Cinema closed, mainly because he was showing really obscure Italian art house films. But it turned into a department store. This is kind of a similar story in Dewsbury. In the 50 years ago there were 5 cinemas, and now there's one, but there used to be none. And the last slide showed the classic, which used to be called the Picture House. But there were 5 others as well. Out-of-town retail cinemas, big things like the Showcase and stuff like that have kind of taken over. Economies of scale and technology and things like that. But there are still independent cinemas, such as Hyde Park Picture House, the Cottage in North Leeds, the Rex in Elland and the Hebden Bridge one, and also non-commercial community cinemas are thriving across the UK, everywhere. And ours is one of those. And I've been fortunate enough to be involved in 2 other projects that have been about temporary cinemas. The first one's the Cinerolium, which was in Clerkenwell, where it was a cinema within a petrol station, and they showed films about cars. So we had things like Duel and Rebel Without a Cause. The other one was Folly for a Flyover, which was underneath the A1010, and they showed films about lots of different things, but had live scores and special screenings alongside art events and temporary kind of dramatic events and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to say really is that cinema can cover lots of different types of time, as Joyce showed. Secondly, cinema the Volta refers to cinema as space, which is what we call vaults. When we were looking for a cinema of our own in Dewsbury, we were looking at loads of different places and different spaces, trying to figure out the best configuration of kind of a social space and a screening room, and we wanted that social experience really of watching a film together and coming together afterwards to talk about it. And this was in the summer of 2012, not 2002. And we found, eventually, after weeks and weeks of looking, the 3rd floor of Yorkshire House, which is next to the bus station above the O2 shop, which was massive, but it had been kicked in by the previous tenants. And we came to an agreement with the landlord about essentially give us 6 weeks of a lease if we tidied it up for him, which is the keys that we had, and we were kind of celebrating until we realised how much work there was actually to do among not that many of us, really, 15 in the end. And we painted and we cleared and scraped decals off windows and lifted and did learnt electrics with some supervision, and eventually, next slide. The other thing as well, we had loads of help from local illustrators and artists who, like Ruth, who designed uniforms, and another guy did the posters, and they're brilliant, obviously. Look really good in real life as well. And we painted ceiling tiles to kind of differentiate between our social space and the screening room. We hung a big black curtain. We built a rake to put velvet flip-down seats from the Dewsbury Little Theatre that's now closed, sadly, but they've been reused in our little cinema. And on the first night, we turned the big cinema sign on. It's double-sided, so you can see it from out. Well, you used to be able to see it from outside. We've taken it down because it's a bit rubbish. But you can see it all the way up the hill. And we were really pleased we were nervous because we didn't know how it'd work, because we had a space, but we'd never had any people. And that brings us to the third meaning of Volta, which is electricity. And that's kind of what the films and the people who came to see them brought to our space in our specific time. So we've shown lots and lots of different films, 50 films in the 2 years since. We've had artist exhibitions. We've had kids' films on a Saturday afternoon. We've had poetry readings. We've done lots of different things. We've got a little artist studio down the back. And the first time we turned the projection on, the first film we showed was Kes, because we kind of wanted to get it out of the way. And that first moment, that music came on and that light, and we saw the kid running down the street, it was just, that was the electricity of people and film. It was just amazing. And these are some of the 50 films which try to be as diverse and consciously varied as possible to cater to as many different tastes and to get as many different people in the door as we can, to varying success. Not everybody likes crazy Italian art house films. And this is some of our people who help run it now. We're about 6 now, from 15 down to 6. We continue to be a not-for-profit voluntary group, which I'm very proud to say that there's still a little cinema in Dewsbury, even though none of you probably know. But yeah, thank you.